Wow. I pressed go live.
But
All right.
it had to be live because the people were commenting.
I was wondering why there were no comments. Wow.
But how did they
Well,
comment?
it's very strange because I pressed go live originally at 9,
Well, you had
and
to have because I see comments throughout the time.
when did we go
The
off?
last comment was from the last comment I see was like 15 minutes ago, but I don't know if there was a
Is
comment after
anybody
that.
still listening or still on? Can tell us what happened? And we lost a bunch of man, bunch of great comment from Chloe.
I don't know.
Oh, well, my first
This
real
is all
bookie.
this is a trial and error thing. You gotta.
God.
I don't even understand how that happened though, because the comments, like, did it kick itself off?
Um, I'm gonna ask when.
I wonder if we could see.
Let's see.
Um,
Let me check.
Do you need help, Amy?
Very strange because I pressed go live originally.
no, that's the.
Wow. Okay.
I don't know. It had to have been live for a while.
It's, man.
Yeah,
I
I
think
guess
we. Wow. I don't think it was on. I don't
how'd those people
know.
leave the comments though? They just.
Well, you can comment even when you're waiting. Oh boy.
That's
Oh,
so
don't kill
strange.
me, please.
Oh, of course not. Oh my god, no, this stuff is like. Oh, see, look, Reggie says it's there now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry,
Apparently, we just
Reggie.
did half an hour of talking to no one. Um, I apologize for anybody listening. Whew. Um,
It's this stuff is just so not
yeah.
it's not foolproof at all.
It's funny because yeah, I pressed go live and then I guess something happened where it didn't actually go live and I didn't verify that. Um, I was wondering
Yeah, on
why
my end
they weren't
it
showing that.
doesn't really look any different. So
All right, well, sorry guys. Let me reintroduce Chloe Decay. Um, she's somebody I know from a long time ago that I shot with. She modeled for my photography a long time ago, and she's a photographer herself, performer, and convention organizer. And we just talked about stuff that you didn't hear, so I don't want to get into that too much. But without trying to repeat us, let's kind of try to move forward. So we were talking about how Chloe kind of evolved in her, you know, becoming familiar with the alternative scene, really becoming ingrained with it. And after some teen years, listening to Slipknot, we are just talking about the early goth era for Chloe, and when um, she mentioned going to QXTs for the first time, which is a golf club in New Jersey and one of the oldest still running golf clubs in the country. Um, I I don't think there's that many that can claim a history as long as QXTs.
yeah, no, there's definitely not. I did know at some point, but COVID brain does not know.
Yeah, that was one of the earliest clubs I went to, and I remember it was we went in there, and I go downstairs to that the smaller space where the plain industrial. I was like, oh man, that's the shit. Um, so what how did it go from there?
So I guess like I guess the focus on like modeling type of stuff, like modeling in the alternative scene, was probably the next kind of thing. Because I like after high school, like while I was saying at some point, like I was lucky that I did have a lot of other alternative people in high school with me, and even like in the towns around me and stuff. So I was lucky to have like a lot of alternative people in my life, even that young. Um, but the like I guess I feel like even though I had those people, I didn't really kind of stay with that group of people even after high school. Like I had my boyfriend at the time was older than me, so he had already like done some things in the scene already, and so he kind of already like knew some other things. Um and yeah, I guess like just like two different things. I guess like being with him the beginnings of our relationship, as you do with any relationship, like, oh, this is the music I'm into, this is what I'm into, this is what I do, this is what I do. So I definitely learned more about it from him. But the modeling, I think more so though, because that was like how I made all of my friends then. Like that was how I met other girls my age, other people who had similar interests, other uh like that was just what became fun to me. So I don't know, like I feel like that was a big focus for a long time, because even when I started working for the other company that I used to work for, I worked for them because of modeling stuff. So I think that was probably like for years was the focus of that, and then it was only through already working on modeling related things in the scene did I start working on other unrelated things in the scene.
Right.
So,
Yeah, I think photography for me really maybe the best aspect about it at all is meeting all the people I met and gotten to work to and became friends.
yeah,
It you discover a lot of very interesting people, especially in alternative photography.
absolutely. Like literally every person that's even still in my life, still so many of them are from our models or photographers, because yeah, you really do like that's that's been like such an awesome thing for my life, which is weird because it's like objectively I've always really hated calling myself a model. Just like it's like it is what I call it, but I don't really love it because that's like I feel like it has like a connotation that's not the scope of what like alternative modeling is. Even the word alternative modeling I feel like doesn't scope. I mean, because I guess, oh, this is another topic for another time, but the current day of alternative modeling is nothing like the alternative modeling from 15 years ago.
No, I mean,
So it's
I
so
I don't mind
different.
if you get into it.
Well, it's like it's a completely different world. Like back then it felt like we were doing something, and now it kind of feels like it
I mean,
feels
what
less like it has a point now. Like,
I
it
think.
doesn't have that same. Yeah, maybe you know what I'm saying in a better way.
Well, one thing I think that's very different now is the whole influencer model.
Right, exactly. That's what I'm talking about. It's like that's it's not even that that's different. That's it now. That's like taken over. The other type is like barely there anymore.
Right. I mean, I think a lot of us were just doing something as a creative outlet, and there wasn't really, all my photography was trade, right? I wasn't doing it commercially. I wasn't trying to monetize it or anything.
Right.
Um, I mean, things obviously changed a lot with social media now, and whether it's TikTok or whatever. Um, there are people who are basically professionally putting out content because they can monetize it, but it does feel a little different
Yeah.
than I think what we were doing.
Yeah. I think because I've talked to other people who I've modeled with this like forever, and it definitely took something of like the magic about it is definitely not there anymore. Now it's definitely like I do it when I want to create something, or like I'm working with somebody I want to work with, etc. But like, I feel like before, like as much like the way I feel about just the general goth industrial scene now is how I used to feel about the like industrial modeling and photography scene here too. And like I feel like that whole thing got lost because of the oversaturation and the everybody's a model now kind of thing. And like,
Right.
listen, I totally like, I am the super accepting person. I love everybody. I think everybody is awesome. And which is why, again, I don't like the word model, because I don't think I'm doing anything anyone can't do. I just think this is the type of art that I like to create. And when it becomes this like weird popularity contest mixed in with like likes and followers and big brands trying to monetize alternative culture, which is again another giant topic for another time, like how we're a Halloween costume and shouldn't be a Halloween costume.
Like, yeah, it does feel like now it's just, you know, that's just a cool thing to do, and people didn't necessarily. Again, I think I tie a lot of it back to music. I think
of
music
course
is how we really entered the scene, whatever that scene is, and you know, fashion certainly comes along with it, but music I think was central to it, and that's how a lot of us met each other, whether it was at shows or clubs or whatever. And when you see popular culture kind of appropriating the looks without really understanding, I think, the core of it or the motivation of it. I mean, I get it. It's everybody, you know, everybody steals from everybody else, you know. But
right, totally. But like, I know that you haven't been shopping for little girls recently, but I don't think that they understand that a lot of original goth stuff came from fetish shops. Like, I don't think that they understand this. Like in the 80s, the goths didn't have Killstar. Like,
right.
It's like you had black clothes or you had fetish clothes. You had porn star clothes or you had stuff that you had to make goth yourself.
Oh yeah, you just DIY'd it. Yeah, right. Absolutely.
Oh, sorry.
So like,
yeah. Now that goth is popular enough to be fast fashion, just
it's like in
good
some ways,
and bad, you know.
Yes, it's good. I like not paying $1,000 for every tiny little like slightly alternative thing that I own. I love that. But like, why can I buy fetish gear for my 5-year-old? That's I don't understand. And it's literally just because I understand what I'm looking at and the people who stole the fashion don't. Because they're just like, that looks cool. That looks cool. Let's just put the shiny black stuff with the silver stuff, and it works. No, please don't put fetish gear on children.
No, on the different end of that, you know, like we have a little boy, right? So, and I felt this for my whole life, but man, like boys' clothing is so boring.
Oh my god, it's so boring. But you know what's funny though? Lydia actually has a lot of boys' clothes.
Oh, and yeah, I mean, look, a lot of it is just unisex, right? Especially kids. I mean, it's just kids, right? A lot of stuff we have is pretty unisex. My wife is a big fan of Katie Quinn or K Quinn. I forget there's like a brand that does that sort of thing. But yeah, we recently went to like Macy's or something because I got a gift card from work. So, and we're looking at the kids section, and we're like, it's awful. Honestly, both sections, even the boys, because it's all like just kind of very garish colors, but not in a good way.
Yeah, they want boys to be wearing baseball and blue and red, and girls have to wear pink and purple and yellow.
Yeah,
and pastel.
We and I was telling Ellie, I was like, well, you know, girl stuff was more interesting because none of the boy stuff we could find out because it's interesting. But then we walked through a girl section. I was like, wow, I don't think I would like anything either. Everything is just pink and purple, and I don't know. It's still, even though we're, I think, more open-ended, open-minded, there's still very much of a, you know, gender stereotype in terms of kids' clothing.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a lot of really awesome places to get like cute alternative baby clothes and stuff, but it's like, it's hard to even get like I remember when Lydia was a baby, like even just wanting some like plain black things, plain gray things. Like now, if I want something that's plain, I'll just order it on Amazon because I know I'm not going to find it in the store. It's going to be like one of 3 colors. But like she'll be like, but I don't have anything in this color. I'm like, okay, because the store doesn't sell that color.
Right. Yeah. That's nowadays almost everything. You just end up buying online because it's so hard to find something you like physically.
Yeah, it's I feel like I've had good luck in her lifetime at Target because Target tends to have like a little bit of a range. Like I think that their lines are a little more like inclusive, and a lot of the girls things are like have science on them or less like it has to be princesses. So we've gotten a lot
Yeah.
of stuff at Target in her life because it's
Target,
just been,
yeah, I'd say Target has some. It's just, hey, we got a little Metallica
yes,
shirt
they
for our
always have
kid there.
they
But
Johnny Cash. I think I
Johnny
got
Cash
there.
got that. Yep.
I think we got
Um,
Pink Floyd
so
recently too.
so I do appreciate that that end.
Yeah,
And I don't know if people noticed, for at least like the toddler age, baby toddler age, they don't really separate boys girls, although it's fairly obvious, but it's not labeled that way. It's just
right.
it's just toddlers or babies or
Yeah.
whatever.
I do think that's slowly going to keep changing. I think it's more going to just be a general section.
Yeah,
But
I think that's a good direction personally.
I
Again,
feel like there's not enough of very specific unisex things though, because like a lot of it still is very feminine or very masculine.
right,
And
right.
even in my regular like, clothes that I put on myself, like I'm a very big fan of like solid plain things. And even if it's like with Lydia, like she might have a shirt that I really like, but then like every pair of pants has like 75 different colors on it and glitter, and it's like it's so hard to even just find some basics sometimes. So I've definitely had good luck with Target getting that stuff because I can just get her like jeans or gray pants, and so that's definitely. But like the regular stores though, like Carter's.
Oh yeah. That's. I think we
Not
tried that
happening.
once. We're like, oh wow, this is all terrible.
It's terrifying.
Now I don't know what kind of taste my site will grow into. I don't know if do you feel like Lydia has adopted some of your aesthetic
A
or
little bit. So she definitely understands what goth is, and she does talk about things being goth. So, and she's usually right. Like when she picks something out, she'll be like, "Oh, mom, pick that out. It's super goth." She's usually right. So I appreciate that. And she will wear black, but it's more like it's a color she wears, but it's not like me where I only wear 2 colors. she she wears like black and gray and also other colors and pink and red and purple and like any color. So she's like I think at some point she told me she was a color goth. Some point she told me she was a flower goth. Um
okay?
she's gone through a few, but she definitely understands doing some goth things and liking some goth things, but also her own thing, which that's what it's what I hope.
Right.
I want her to I don't want her to be like a clone of me at all. I want her to find what is her, and if that's being a goth, that's great. But if it's not,
Of
that's okay
course.
too.
Yeah, you want them to be happy with something that excites them. I always worry about what his music taste is going to be. 'Cause I feel like it's not often where a kid's music taste matches the parent. So I've I've kind of made peace of it, but man, it's a little scary.
Actually, her favorite song right now is Block Number One by Typo Negative. So
Okay.
but she also likes other stuff too though. So it's like she picks up some alternative songs that we play, and she will like she'll put that on herself. She'll talk it into the because she can't totally read yet, so she'll talk it into the remote and put Block Number One on the TV. She's
That's good. I mean,
very
at least you can sharing some music as and especially when you get to a point where you can take them to a show.
yeah. Oh my god, I can't wait. That's gonna
That's
be
pretty
like
special.
that's gonna be very exciting. So like one that she actually wants to go to.
Well,
That
I
will
guess
be
I mean she was there at on convention, right? So
Yeah.
we still
So
talk
she
about. So
saw
she did
she
experience
saw
that a little
she
bit.
saw a couple bands. Yeah, she saw. Yeah, I don't. She's definitely saw a couple of them. I'm trying to think what else if she's seen any other bands. No, I don't think so. I mean, she's been to sound check before for other bands. Um,
When was your first show? Do you remember?
um, I guess it's hard to. I guess it depends on how to quantify it. Like I saw a lot of bands when I was a teenager, but like a lot of them were like local bands. So while it still
I,
seemed exciting
I
sometimes, it
guess I
wasn't
should
like
say,
really. Yeah, no, I know you mean something like a real.
yeah. Well, a band we would recognize. I mean, real or
Yeah,
not, whatever. But you know what I mean.
I'm
So
not sure.
I'll tell you what mine was. The first band I ever actually saw was a Pink Floyd cover band called The Machine, and that was like my freshman year of high school. So I didn't never seen like an actual live show before that.
I mean,
Which,
this is a terrible one because of I don't know if so. I mean, I grew up in New Jersey, so it's the home of the Misfits. So
Mhm.
there was a Michael Graves who's now known to be a bad person. He used to play at those local shows all the time when I was a teenager, so I probably saw him a bunch of times. I don't know the extent of that, but I didn't like go into it like wanting to watch it, so I don't know that is necessarily doesn't really count. I'm just like I feel like it had to have been like when I was a freshman in high school, but I don't know why I can't place like by the time I was 16, like I definitely seen like a lot of bands. So that's why I don't know why I can't exactly place like what was the first. I mean, I know I saw Tool pretty young. Like I definitely saw Tool by the time I was 16, I definitely had seen Tool. Um I don't know. I thought I feel like I saw System of a Down really young.
Oh, okay. Never seen them live.
That
Then
was the only time I ever. Yeah, that was like I was definitely in high school then. I don't know. I can't really remember what the first one was, which is so weird. I'm sure at some point I'll remember it and be like, oh, obviously it was that, but I don't. I don't know. I don't know right now.
well, sometimes, yeah. I mean, especially if they're happening around the same time, you don't necessarily remember. You remember, I think you remember the shows that really touched you more than necessarily what order they were in. At least for me personally,
Yeah.
I have a lot of times remembering what shows I saw when. Um, my friend Jeff has a really good memory of it, and I'm like, we saw a lot of shows together, and I'm like, I couldn't tell you which one was which. I just remember stuff happening. Um,
That's kind of how because like I've often like thought back to early like clubbing days, like from when I was 18 to like 20, 23 or whatever. And I've thought back to things like that, and that's kind of how it is now. It's like I don't remember specific events we did back then, but I remember like a lot of general occurrences that happened at those events. But
mm,
like I don't know which ones happened at the same ones or which one like what the timeline was or who I was with really, but like just general occurrences
right, right,
related to them. So
yeah,
I feel like that's probably kind of how the music is too. It's just general
and
random experiences.
and that also goes back to a conversation that we had when nobody was actually watching, of how photos help you remember things.
Yeah,
And I have a bunch of photos from like the early like golf club days, and all the photos are terrible. And
I'm sure they're
but
still
you know,
special.
there's a lot of us like you take a flash photo of people on the dance floor, and everybody's like just like
Yeah,
frozen in this like weird awkward pose, but again it does help you remember that moment.
oh yeah, no, absolutely. That is I definitely would when I find some time in life. I definitely want to work on, like I was saying before, like making sure I have like everything for Lydia together. So at least like every 5 years or something, you like kind of just have some kind of mass backing up of everything. So it's like in some kind of form that she can see it. But it's also like, who knows what kind of technology is going to exist by the time that she wants to use them, because everything changes so fast.
Yeah.
Like if you have a CD, most laptops don't even have CD drives anymore. So it's not like I
Right.
can give her like burn it on a CD or a disc. That's not gonna.
Yeah. Old media we had, kids are like, what?
Yeah.
What is this? But going back to, so you talked about modeling. At what point did you decide that I want to go on the other side of a lens and do, take my own photos?
So that was 2010. There wasn't really like a specific occurrence. It was just my mom was really crafty and I was really crafty, so like I knew we could like put together a lot of stuff. So like making something look nice wasn't really that hard. It was more like eventually I just got very frustrated by the process, basically, because it was like I can accomplish several aspects of this myself, but then at the end of it I have to take all this work that I'm doing on my outfit and the concept and putting together props or whatever, and then I have to trust a photographer who often are not people that I necessarily know very well, and give them this shoot, and then hope that they turn it back to me in a way that even portrays the work that I did. And there was definitely times that did not happen, and it was hard to like put all that work in. So when I learned how to do photography, I think it was kind of like an answer to that problem. Like, well, if I just learn how to do this myself, I don't know if I thought doing self-portraits would be easier or like, because it's not that they're self-portraits are not impossible, but they are not, controlling them is not, it's not the same thing.
No,
At all.
I personally find self-portraits to be like super frustrating.
Right, exactly. It's super frustrating.
When I'm shooting somebody else, I know what I'm doing. I can see what I'm doing. When I'm taking photos of myself, I'm like, I hate, because I can't see what's happening.
Yeah, exactly.
And
it's just a shot in the dark, literally.
Yeah, and even just technologically speaking, right? You have to deal with remotes and
hope it's
you're
focused.
getting the focus right. So I'm always impressed by people who do really good self-portraits, because
a thing that I've learned recently, because some of those people are now friends of mine, is that apparently you can download an app for your phone that can connect to your DSLR.
Right. Yeah,
So
they do have it.
And phone, like you're doing it through the phone, not through the camera.
Right.
Is what I understand. Like, so now you're able to focus it through the phone.
Yeah, you can do that. So the major DSLR brands have their own now. Like Canon has Canon Camera Connect, or I forget what the heck it's called. And then there's some third-party tools. So yes, you can do that. It still has its own pain points.
Oh yeah, no, I'm sure it's still.
But yeah,
really frustrating.
It's slightly helpful. I'll say that.
There was at some point I had like a way I could hook up my camera to like a screen, but it didn't solve the focus thing. It just would show me after the fact.
Yeah.
So the focus to me has always been the main problem.
Nothing's more annoying than taking a bunch of photos that you think are good, and then you zoom in, you're like, God.
They're all out of focus. Or like something right in front of you or right behind you is in focus, like so close.
Right.
So it's not totally out of focus, just enough to be bad. Just enough to be wrong.
Yeah, I usually put it like on manual focus. I'll try to like focus it on the spot. They'll like make a tape mark on the floor or something.
Oh no, yeah, I've done that so many times.
Try to hit that, but yeah, it tires me out, like doing self-portraits way more than
so much more
than doing a regular shot.
I actually don't do them anymore. Like I used to do them fairly often, like where I would use a tripod and like try and do them, but I just won't even bother anymore. because it's literally like the most exhausting thing. And I don't know if it is that frustration trying to be like, but I can't be here and there, but it's not. It is.
Yeah.
It is
And
not an easy thing.
And
Not at
just
all.
because I was, I've been doing photography, I tend to know more models than photographers. It's always really cool to see models become photographers, because that has happened to a couple of people. And then I can actually, not knowing that I can trust them, like Chloe shot me a few months ago, and that it's nice to know that I can find somebody who I can trust to do those photos.
Yeah, like so you at least have like an understanding of like some like now I feel like people are more ethical though. Like there was definitely a point in time where like I don't know, half of photographers I shot with didn't give photos back ever.
Mm.
And like it happened to all my friends. Like now if you do that, you're not going to be a photographer anymore. But back then people could get away with everything.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I think now there's a better kind of system of tracking the people who are not, not good actors.
Yeah.
And back then, yeah, I mean, photography, especially alternative photography, is often problematic, right?
Yeah.
It creates situations where people can take advantage, unfortunately, and
Right.
a lot of times that did happen.
Yeah.
And I almost feel like if I, I mean, this sounds kind of bad and biased, perhaps, but if I was a new model now, and if I was given advice to a new model, I hate to say it, but like, go maybe try non male cishet photographers. I mean, and I'm one, so that sounds bad, but
Right. It's like
you're likely gonna be safer.
yeah. Yeah, no,
You know?
and I definitely like at some point I was working with a website shooting a lot of nudes of models, and I got like just so many people were just like, "Oh my God, we're so happy that you are in this area that you can do this now because there was only this guy and this guy and they don't get back to us and they make us feel this way and but I want to do this and I want to do this and I can't unless I do it with this one person or this person." And so it's definitely strange. I've actually been very lucky. I know like most of my female modeling contemporaries will like have had much worse situations than I have. So I've definitely been very lucky. And I was never a huge fan of like bringing people to shoots with me, like as much as it's like a safety measure. Like not a big fan of it. I am a big fan of like I
Yeah,
want to get my
there's
stuff
pros and
ready
cons
and
for it,
leave. Yeah,
and
exactly.
it's definitely a personal thing. Like I recommend it to new models,
Yeah.
but I understand that again, doing alternative photography, sometimes you feel, uh, it's easier without without more people involved. But some people feel safer and are safer, and also as a photographer, it's nice to help helpers to like hold up things.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
But yeah,
yeah,
I like when and again, for anybody who doesn't know, I do rope photography, or that's one of the things I do. And when I think when I first started, rope photography specifically was very male dominated, almost exclusively, and that's changed a lot over the years, and especially now. I think now you see a lot more creative people um, that are that are not that, and interestingly enough, I think there's a different aesthetic you can tell overall in those photos. So
yeah. I think I know what you mean. Yeah,
it's whoever it's partially the male gaze, right? So I mean it is what it is. So I think they had a part in it. So I think it's good to have a more diversified field where everybody's involved now on both sides of the lens. Although I think modeling wise, like alternative modeling, men make up a very small
yeah,
minority.
that's true. Yeah, Which
So
actually, yeah, that's actually, I feel like it actually used, well, maybe, I don't know, I mean, probably just don't follow a ton of like male models, but I feel like it's got to be reasonably prevalent now. But yeah, it's always been pretty on the low end, but
and you know,
I don't know much about
I'm
it
guilty
now.
of that, right? Most of my photography, most of the models I've shot are female, but it's like it's a bit of a catch-22 because most of the people that contact me for shoots are also female, right? So and and when I do try to actually get photos of myself, it is hard to find photographers sometimes, which again, why I appreciate somebody like you.
Yeah, that's so. I don't know why anybody would have a problem shooting more males. Or I guess a lot of people just don't even. Maybe it's intimidating. Like, oh, I don't know how to do this, even though it's probably not that that much different than. I don't. Yeah, I don't feel like. I mean, I guess there's something. Well, maybe posing. I could see posing being a little harder. Like trying to instruct a male model to pose, I would probably have less input for them. So I think maybe that would make it harder.
I can see that, and I'm terrible at posing myself. I can help other people pose when I'm in front of the camera. I have no idea what I'm doing.
But yeah, it's because you can't. It's like you can't see it the same way. Once you see it in the camera, like that vision in the camera is like same before. Like it's just the frustration of that. Just you just can't duplicate it. The photographer and the model just cannot both see it at the same time. There's just no way around it.
Right. So,
There's no way around it.
how did you decide to do family photography?
I think I didn't really do family photography until after I had a kid. So definitely having a kid was a big part of it because I felt like I understood something about how to interact with kids that I didn't really understand as well before. So that made me feel like then I could kind of handle doing it. And then being a mom, I kind of understood how to relate to moms. Whereas before, the idea kind of just intimidated me because I felt like it was a different world to me. So I think it was more just that, like, okay, well now I'm a family person, so I'm used to a family, like another family. I don't know. Like it was easier to relate to. I think it's just being more family oriented then made
Right.
it easier to understand family photography. And then I don't know. I definitely found like I don't know if unique approach is really the right way to say it, but I feel like I found my own way of still like doing things in a way that I liked while still kind of making a more mainstream product of sorts. But I still think I do things in my own way, but I can cater to more people this way.
Right. Yeah. I think until we had a kid, I didn't really appreciate how hard family photography is.
Oh God, it's hard. Yeah,
Shooting young kids is really really hard.
yeah, it really is. And
I,
shooting your own kids. I mean, some people are really good at it, but like Lydia
yeah.
does not listen to have me to tell her to stop. She's like, "But mom, I want to tell you other things." Like,
Yeah.
but can
I
you
mean,
just take a picture?
it was okay when he was a baby, not really
Right.
moving.
And now that
But
he
man,
moves
once
and
we start
runs
moving, yeah,
and doesn't understand what "stay there, don't move" means.
no.
Even Lydia doesn't understand "stay there, don't move." I don't know how, but she doesn't. She just keeps moving. She just
Yeah,
keeps
and I
moving.
always feel like we've had a couple of shoots where we hire a photographer to get some nice family photos because that's the one thing, right? Getting all three of us in the picture with I can take photos of the others, but trying to get all of us in the picture, again, it's self portrait times much even more complicated, right? Because you have now you have more chaos in the equation.
Oh yeah, that's not easy than trying to self-portrait. I'm trying to think if I ever when Lydia was a baby, I definitely did a self-portrait with her, but now I don't think I could. because she wouldn't understand. Like, I don't think she would understand that she had to, like, why she had to stay. Unless if I showed her how it worked first, then maybe she would stay still for it. But I'd have to explain it to her fully. Like, if she wants to understand things, so like if I tell her how and why I'm doing it that way and how the whole thing works, she might find it interesting enough that she would then be interested to still like stand still and pose. But thus far, she has not. But I keep hoping.
Yeah, I'm sure one day. But yeah, I feel bad for the photographers because we're like, you have to have so much patience, and as the photographer, because like the kid's crying or the kid not really like staying in one place, and I don't know. I think you have to have a certain mentality to be a family photographer, and I couldn't. I just can't.
I couldn't do like family portraits all day every day. No way. It's not possible. That would just be too aggravating, difficult. I mean, maybe if I did it a lot more, I'd get more of a hang for it. But I definitely prefer doing children's events than children's photography, like portraits. Although, you know what, I've been pretty lucky with most of the kids that I've shot with, though. So I've been pretty lucky.
So, what's the biggest challenge with dealing with a 5-year-old?
Hi, Reggie. What is it? Oh God. I really definitely have like always had a pretty easy kid. Like she was never been a big crier. She's never been a big tantrumer. Like, I've been pretty lucky. I think the biggest challenge at this part is really just like knowing. I don't know if knowing the right thing to do is exactly right, but like as she understands more, there's a lot more pressure on like making sure that she understands like why you do things. And I take more time to like stop and apologize now. Like if I say something I don't like that I said, I'll go back to her later and then explain to her, oh, mommy wasn't feeling well and that was why I got frustrated and that made me snap. And that was like I'm just trying to come up with something random, like that whole process of like now it's a whole explanation of everything, and like it just makes you I feel like question things in a little bit of a different way, whereas like before, you're making the decisions, and now it's like now she's got an opinion, and now I understand her differently, and like it's just I feel like you never know the right thing, which is why I've tried very hard not to judge other parents at all, because it's like you don't know. Like, as much as like you think you don't. We're all kind of just guessing here. Like, sure, there's like some science about some things, and studies about some things, and we know certain things are bad now, and certain things they used to say was okay aren't okay now. But there's so many things that are neither nor. There's so many things that are even not that important that you still have to then like deal with and figure out and try and handle, and like how to like there's like things like I was even saying, I think before, that might have been before we were recording, but about like Santa Claus and stuff. Like, everything is so I'm so much more hyper aware of the way that the world affects her now, because she can say something to me and be like, I did this, and this is what happened. This is how I feel. So now everything makes me think like, I definitely just think about the things that she's doing differently.
and I think you also mentioned about not criticizing other parents. I I think one thing I understand better now is everybody has different challenges that you're not necessarily aware of.
Oh
Like,
yeah, absolutely.
you don't
Yeah.
really know what's going on behind the scenes, and what the life we share on social media is not the life that actually is. So
Nope.
I've certainly learned that um, to be more forgiving. If you think somebody's not a perfect parent, well, good luck being one. Um, so going back to how all your various skills and talents evolved, um, how and I want to get to Von Convention, but how did you get into event management or
Um,
helping out of events first? I think, and then
it was all just a process of like the modeling stuff. Like because I was like getting to know people in like this general alternative world via alternative modeling, then helping with alternative modeling things, then somehow also became aspects of events, and then that became bigger events and more events and events galore, and then my own events is where we are now in my own event plan.
yeah. So let's talk about Unconvention. What how did you give birth to it, and what are some of the challenges you faced doing it?
This was definitely the like I don't know if hardest, but this was definitely like the biggest projects I ever did in my entire life of any kind. I've never had something take me this amount of time to complete and put together and stuff. That was definitely a lot. But I just really have such like a deep at this point, such a deep passion for how important the community of the scene is, and like both preserving that and pushing that forward, and bringing that into the current times, and doing things and bringing things up to the level that people are starting to expect, and safety measures people expect. um I think I just really wanted I want to just be putting my time and effort and whatever, like my motherly instinct, like into the scene however I can, because I just think that that's like for me been one of the most important things, because it's like being a person who is not in like normal society, having my family of weird misfits, all like having that place to go and having that be a safe place, and a place that I know is handled ethically and handled like important things are respected when you're there, and everybody has the needs of current people being considered, and the people that are going to these things considered. And I think a lot of like, even like I was saying before with like the fast fashion kind of stuff, like a lot of that stuff is so finance based, and like I get that, I totally get that. I get why it's
Right.
like that, I get why all things in the world are like that, but it's not the point. And it doesn't make it any easier, it doesn't make the financial part any easier, but there's something so much more important here than that. And I don't, I want Lydia to grow up, or people Lydia's age to grow up and know that that I want that still to exist. I'm sure it's going to always evolve and be different, but if we don't keep doing more things and pushing things along further, they're eventually just not going to be around anymore. So I don't want that to happen, which I think is probably one of the biggest things. Is like I just want to, as I've gotten older and been able to take on more tasks and challenges related to like alternative scene event promotion and planning, it feels more and more like I would be irresponsible if I wasn't doing it. So it's kind of like a weird thing like that. Like I feel like it's just what I'm supposed to be doing with my time.
Mhm. I wonder if it's almost an aspect of what, or at least part of it, right? Is when you said you started doing photography because you kind of felt like I wanted to
Yeah.
do it. I wanted to do it a certain way, and I can't achieve that with other people, so I'm just do it myself.
Yeah.
I almost
No,
feel like,
that's probably me across the board. Yeah.
and that's totally understood. And by the way, so for anybody who is not familiar with Unconvention, um, this is a goth dark alternative convention that Chloe put together. Its an inaugural run was in November of last year. The next one is going to be, similar time this year. Um, and it was a 3 day convention in New Jersey, and I loved it. I mean, talk about finance, right? I don't think you get much more value for the dollar for than something like this, considering you're seeing a whole bunch of bands, you're seeing performances, vendors, all sorts of stuff that individually is much harder to do you know in an affordable manner. So I want
Yeah.
to appreciate what you did, and in my experience, I don't have a survey of all of it, but I certainly have a history of that type of convention here, and as far as I know, it's the first one that I know of that's female run. Um, and I think that's kind of important, as we talked about again, that the male monopoly on photography and
Yeah.
alternative
Yeah.
photography,
Definitely.
that's changing, and I think this is also changing, and I think that's a good thing, and I think that reflects on it being more inclusive, but also can be appreciated by more people.
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely. I think a little part of what keeps me like I don't know if it keeps me going exactly is like the right way to say that, but I like I want like Lydia to grow up and see that I did what I wanted to do with my life, that I did things that made me happy, not things I felt like I had to do. And I want her to like, know that same thought. Like you shouldn't be trying to spend your life having as boring a life as possible. You should spend your life doing things that make you happy and you have fun. Like um so I just, I want her to see that like this is what I choose to put my time into because I think that this is important and here's why I think it's important. And I tell her these things and she might not understand all of it now, but I still try and explain to her why it's important to me. She even though she doesn't necessarily like understand like why goth is or what goth is, she knows it's not she knows not everybody's goth. She knows like only certain people are goth and she kind of understands like what it looks like, which has been a whole really interesting like like life thing, just like watching her like make it all this very like child version of it. Because she's like just always explaining like if she gets something black on her, like anything black on her, she has goth on her. Like it doesn't matter what it is, she gets goth on her. And like I just want her to see that like I just wanted to spend my life with goth on me.
Yeah. I wonder sometimes. I think I assume she's at an age where she'll go visit other kids' house maybe, and they come to
A
yours.
little bit. We're getting there, and that's definitely.
I'm curious how a kid might react seeing your house, because your house is not a typical one. I think you can see a little bit of that here, but
Yes, this is my magenta room. Yes, it's not a, not no. Everything in our house is definitely not typical, but it's a thing I've thought about for a long time because I don't want anybody to ever be like scared away by us because like we're not really scary, but some people don't understand.
Yeah.
So some people think it's scary, and like I don't want there to ever be like, I don't want Lydia to ever have to. I mean, I can't control the world, but I would prefer that Lydia didn't have to like have any kind of oh, we're scared of you kind of thing, or we're scared of your family, any kind of
Right.
like pushback like that, because that would be not great.
Yeah.
So
The witch house.
yeah. Yeah, those creepy people. But I don't know. I think our hair colors help us out with kids because they're like, oh my god, they have colored hair. So we instead look like cartoon characters. Other than
Yeah, I think for kids that's fun.
yeah, it's working out.
Yeah.
Like everything Lydia draws is just stick figure, pink scribble.
Oh well, that's cute.
I know, I love it.
Well, yeah, well, like one of the things we are still haven't really figured out is, we have we had a bunch of, I guess not super like G-rated wall art, and we're like, oh, as he grows up, I guess we may have to move some of it around. It is what it is, but it's like deciding what's okay and what's not okay is going to be.
Yeah, there's
I think
definitely
it's still
things that
kind of
we
an
can't,
interesting.
we don't like want to buy, we don't buy, like want to have in the house, don't have in the house because it's just like I can't. So she's only gonna get older. She's only gonna figure more things out. Like it's not gonna get any easier to hide it.
Yeah, finding that weird stuff in the box, and boy, that's that'll be interesting later on. In a way, it's nice now. He's pretty ignorant. He doesn't know better, but yeah.
Not for long.
So, is there anything you can tease us about the next OnCon?
At this point, nothing really that I could tease. Anything that would be anything that was different, like drastically different from last year. At this point, it's very much just like doing a lot of deciding what we want to change, and what we do want to stay the same, and this is going to be a constant like big giant learning experience. So I think it's just we're in okay, well, we did it the first time now, and we needed some time to recover from it, and now we're getting to the point where it's time to start like really starting to figure out, like finalize some of those thoughts, and like what are like, okay, well, moving forward, this is what we're definitely doing, not doing, etc.
So one other aspect I wanted to ask you about is one of the ever many things that you do which is burlesque, and what made you decide that's something you want to do? And
so I actually always wanted to do burlesque. My great aunt was a burlesque performer, and my daughter is actually named after her. My aunt Lydia,
okay.
was a burlesque performer in Germany, and I have a bunch of her promo photos and stuff, and so it was always the thing I wanted to do because I knew that my aunt had like that was like always a cool thing that my dad had told me about, like my aunt, and it was always something I wanted to do, and I, for lack of a better term, was not allowed to until I did it. So when I did it because that was when I was allowed to do it, not when I was. It's kind of like an opposite. It wasn't that I got into it; it's that I always wanted to do it, and I wasn't allowed to until I was able to. So it was exciting. But I do a little bit too many things now. So burlesque and modeling are kind of like the bottom two, unfortunately, where like photography and events kind of are a little more important now.
Right, that's understandable. I think there's an ebb and flow to the different things you're into and involved in.
Yeah, and like I'm definitely like want to spend a little more time worrying about burlesque again because I've been very focused on event stuff and moving around, which kind of works out for me though, because I can't spend like too much time focused on any one specific thing because my brain will explode. It
Yeah.
doesn't work out.
Yeah, I think it was a lot for when you were doing so many, wearing so many hats during OnCon and
Too
the
many
previous conventions you worked on. Yes, I think it. I think how hard it is just to do one thing.
Yeah.
And doing all of that is a lot.
It's too many now. But I mean, the goal with Uncon was always like, I don't want anything ever to be like the Chloe show. Like that's not how I want anything to ever be. I want anything like that. I want the community input. I want to hear what everybody else is saying and thinking because it's not for me. I'm creating it. I'm not creating it for myself. So I think that I guess if there's anything that I can say moving forward to the second year is that I have a lot better idea of like who are the people that like really care about this and really want to do this. Who can I trust and rely on? And where do I really need somebody to handle something that I need to take off my plate because it needs more specific handling than I can possibly give it. So I think that's been a lot of figuring that out, but it's been very helpful because there's definitely people now that I'm like, okay, I'm not doing this completely alone now.
Right.
Even
It's
though
well, also when you're running things, I think, this is almost from my day job, right? You want to, you kind of want to do everything yourself because you feel more comfortable with that, but it becomes impossible. So you have to figure out how to delegate things and kind of trust your team, which is for myself has been difficult. So
it's not that I have trouble even trusting them. It's that I'm not good at asking people for help because I feel bad asking for help.
Right.
I'm like, I don't want to impose like my whatever on people. So it's like I'm like, but if I can do it myself, I'm not going to bother anyone else with it. But like I kind of can't do it all by myself, so
right. Yeah.
it's it needs to be done with more people.
If there's one thing you could change about any of those scenes we talked about, what would it be?
I think I just like I don't understand the need for anyone to be like I'm so focused on like the community orientation of these things that it makes me almost sad to think of people that don't see that, who are like trying to do things in this world. Like, okay, if you want to attend these things and be a casual supporter, like that's a totally different story. But people who do not believe in this and do not understand how important this is, I don't think should be spending all of their time or you doing it because they have the money to do it, like fast fashion brands and things like that. Like I to me it's one of the few things in the world that is like actually sacred to me, and I want people to know how special it is that they get to have this thing, because not everybody has like a subculture, not everybody has a community, not everybody has a thing where they could go to any place in the world and find people in their like culture. Like it's like we all really live this like secret club. Like it's like you could go anywhere and you could find like I mean maybe not anywhere, but like if you go to another country or somewhere, like there's going to be probably some kind of goth clubs there, probably some kind of events that they have there, probably some kind of fashion brands that's from there, probably like there's still like a little bit of alternative culture in everything, but it's small enough to still be special and unique. And
Yeah, I think
underground.
that's again, that's one of the things I love about the goth scene. So I have a little story about this. So many years ago, I went to Paris, and again, there was kind of limited resources of how to find the golf club or whatever. I'm like, I don't know. So at one point, we just needed batteries, so we went into some department store, and then we see this girl working like the makeup counter, looking goth. So we went to her and we basically asked, "What are you goth? And can you tell us where to go?" And she pointed us to Les Fureux, which is like the Furies, which is a kind of a goth bar there. Very very cool place. And we went there and we found flyers for a goth night that was happening,
Oh, that's
um,
so cool.
which is on a boat. There's a golf club on a boat. So like forgot the river that goes through Paris, but um,
Uh,
yeah,
I know it too because I've been to Paris too, and
mhm.
I can't remember right now.
Yeah, so whatever. Anyway, so we went there, party on a boat. One of the things I remember is after midnight they served crepes with Nutella.
Oh,
I'm like, man,
at the goth club
why
boat.
why don't golf clubs do that here? But
They should. Can we
one of
start?
one of the- one of the things I just loved about all of that is all of these people we interacted with were very nice to us and welcoming, and which is not necessarily the experience I had in Paris overall.
Right, right. But the
So
goths are like, oh, these are our people. We understand. There we go,
right,
people. Like,
yeah,
right. Like, and I would be that same way toward if there was a foreign person that was a goth, I would be like, oh my God, what do you need? Let me show you everything. I will help you with everything.
man.
Which maybe I wouldn't be as nice to a regular stranger.
So I appreciate that kind of universal aspect of a golf community
Yeah.
where you can,
Yeah, exactly.
go anywhere and feel welcomed.
Yeah, it's a special little place, even though it's a lot of places and big places.
Yeah. So and I want to thank you for doing that here and creating that welcoming space here.
I am gonna keep trying really hard because there are many a baby bats to be found.
Yeah, I'm glad there's still people who appreciate the scene and the new blood, because sometimes you wonder if it's just if it's just gonna age out like I will, but
I'm not letting this happen.
I think
It's not allowed.
I think there's enough fresh blood, so to speak, to keep that going.
Yeah, I agree.
So I want to thank you for joining this little venture of mine.
Yes, thank you so much for doing this with me.
I apologize for apparently losing
No,
the first half hour of live and learn. I'll definitely triple check that next time. So, but thank you.
Yes, thank you so much for having me.
Yep, and thanks everybody for watching. Good night.